My name is Adam Platt. I'm the restaurant critic for New York Magazine.
I'm John, I'm the director.
I'm Wataru, the producer.
So, I'll just tell one little thing. I actually am a graduate a graduate of the American School in Japan. So I've lived in Japan. I've written extensively on the food culture of Japan. This is probably the best movie I've ever seen on that topic.
I enjoyed your book. I read your book in the chapter on Japan, so
Tell everybody about my book, just the name. All right, never mind. Anyway, I have a bunch of questions, but the first one would be, number one, how did you choose ramen?
I actually really chose this place more than ramen. You know, it's just sort of was.
Question number two. As somebody who's tried to report in Japan and Tokyo, which is pretty much impossible for a giant gaijin like me, how did you get access?
We knew him for a while, and so we met him. I actually met him. So the guy, a good friend of Wataru's, is one of the regulars, the one who hates onions and therefore has never tried the salt-based soup with onions on it. He's invited us. He said, "Hey, do you want to go foraging for wild yams, which you see toward the end?"
I bet he said that.
And I was like, sure. You know, and so he said, but you should come by and meet the master first. You know, I think it was just sort of look-see to make sure he wasn't bringing some, crazy wild person or something. So that was the first time I had the ramen was through that experience. And then that was about 8 years ago, I think. And we I wouldn't say we were regulars, but we went regularly. And he invited us on other fishing and those kind of things. And so so we already knew him, by the time we asked.
So how long did it take you to film the whole thing?
We spent a year, pretty much. I mean, actually a year and a half, but most actively for a year. That's what we asked him when we asked him if he'd be interested. And we didn't know if he'd say yes, and we were kind of nervous even though we knew him. We just said, "Can you give us a year?"
So this is ridiculous, by the way. It's ridiculous. And 8 years is about if you're lucky, you'll get into a restaurant like that in 8 years.
Right.
Correct, Mr. Producer. Knowing the Japanese dining culture just a little bit. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah. I really didn't expect him to, wanted to film.
I bet.
So it was really shocking to me, but
Shocking is the word he said.
Yeah, but we really liked him, and then so I just decided to tag along because I could tell it's gonna be a one of a kind experience, and then we were pretty nervous when we, went to Vicente and asked him to film, and then, but he was really casually said, "Okay, that's some fun, so let's do it."
So I gather he's a legend in Japan, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's not like nowadays there are ramen chef whose place has a Michelin star and everything.
We all know what that means.
So he's not, he's not that kind of person, or his restaurant is not that kind of place. But yeah,
He has only one restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, this is insane that they got access to this. And just one more thing. Sorry, because I saw this. I watched this afternoon. I was so shocked I could hardly believe it. And this is the dining culture of Tokyo. Or Japan. This is what makes it, the greatest, in my opinion. Well, there's all these ancient dining cultures, but they all survive around the idea of regulars, right? Restaurant critics are clowns. We all know that. None of these regulars needed to read a review. He's cooking for them basically his whole life. And that is the glory, in case, it's the glory of the Japanese dining culture. Sorry, that's enough for me.
I agree. It really, took a while to feel comfortable enough to ask him, but and again, even one of the people who's been there for 18 years, you know, he wouldn't call himself a regular. He was like, no, I'm not a regular. You know, that's the 30-year people. But they're really, you know, there's a long, deep history there, and he's become real, true friends with a lot of these people. Partly by spending time on the weekends as well. And we knew that was, I always knew that should be part of it, because that was what attracted to me to the place, that unique combination, and how he's always sort of gifting things, and the culture of the gift, you know, food as gift, that he really embraces, and is just natural to him. He didn't raise his prices for like 20 years, you know.
Of course not.
And just recently had to, because the taxes went up.
Yeah, so his basic ramen is like $7.
I think it's like $7.
Can I give them a little bit of background on ramen?
Oh, please, yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure you've seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi, right? Yes, no? So this movie is about, never mind, it's better, okay? The sushi masters, tell my wife, when Jiro came out, because I've been in Tokyo, I said, you know, there are about 30 Jiros in Tokyo. This guy just got a film made out of them. I bought, yes or no? Never mind, you don't have to comment.
Yeah.
Yes.
I probably shouldn't.
Yes. You're allowed to say it. You're a gaijin, you can say yes.
Okay, yes.
And so ramen is really and you can, you know, I think it's correct, it is really I mean, sushi is a rich man's dinner. It's had not much, very expensive. Ramen is the dish of Japan, right? It's the barbecue, it's better than barbecue, but it's a regional, it's the food that Japanese have their Proustian dreams about. Have you been to the the ramen museum in Yokohama?
You know, I actually haven't, because I wanted to, but COVID happened, and then, kind of prevented it.
It's amazing. Anyway, we can talk endlessly about that. I'll talk, can I talk 2 minutes about it? Okay. I'm sorry. I can't contain myself. It was one of the original, quote, food museums. It's privately built by this ramen nut in Yokohama, right? It's huge. There are maybe 30 or 40 ramen stalls there. There's a diorama on the ceiling of this guy's years of his childhood, like 19 whatever. There's Godzilla posters and the sounds of the subway, and of course, ramen. And the lighting even changes. It even goes from dusk, right, his Proustian time, to dark. It's frankly insane, but it's fabulous. All right, carry on. So, well, just talk.
What you mentioned, you know, Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and that's been kind of a reference for a lot of people who've written about the film, understandably. But it also was in my mind when I made this film, or maybe even partly the motivation to try to bring a different angle on Japan and Japanese culture and food culture that I knew, because I don't go to those kind of places.
How long have you lived in Tokyo?
Close to 10 years, or on even more than that, on and off. And my Japanese is terrible, which is embarrassing, which is why I was
well, no, there's no question.
interpreter.
The less you said, the better. Right? There's no question. But it's beautifully shot. Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Before, you know what, I need to give a shout out before, because I forgot in the beginning, our composing team, Michael Shive and Brent Lord are here. So stand up and wave. It was great. It's the first time I've seen the film with surround sound, and we heard it in the studio, but to see it in the theater, it's actually the first time I've seen it with an audience too. We've seen it. So thank you for that. And our executive producer, Andrew Lund, is up there as well. So, thank you.
Questions?
Yeah.
No?
So I can't see so well, so.
Go ahead. Stand up and scream.
Yeah.
I really like the film, and
thanks.
I'm also a big ramen eater. director myself, and I'm probably going to go to my favorite ramen joint after this movie. Just a question, because that you mentioned about the music, the composer and all, I just want to ask, why did you take this kind of a jazz and classical music approach to the score?
It took a long time to find that, and I guess at some point I decided that I felt like even though he doesn't play music, a lot of restaurants have music, a lot of them have jazz playing. He doesn't, but it just sort of felt like a place that just felt like jazz to me there, and so I just wanted to create that atmosphere, and then I wanted to have a contrast to the outside world and the countryside and so I decided to use classical for that, and then Mike sort of seamlessly wove it together, and he also performed all the classical, the Debussy and Mendelssohn and all that. So he performed all that as well.
Well, I can ask one last question. Yeah. So I'm sure, again, having lived in Japan, it's a beautiful story about a particularly kind of Japanese marriage, right? And yes. I couldn't believe, actually, when I saw them talking together in their classical, casual yukata, with these beautiful teacups. God knows where they came from.
That's Bizanaki, right?
I couldn't believe that they weren't crops, actually. I was like, holy God.
They just pulled them out. They said, why don't you come over? We waited to interview them because I wanted them to really know us. And so it was almost after, it was like at the end of the year. We used it at the beginning, but it was really the end of filming, and so we knew him well enough, and I think that helped. And maybe you can talk about why they chose that, what they wanted, and that they chose the dress,
Right. So we went for a New Year, which is like big event for Shogatsu, and then they just dressed, and then they served us a special New Year food, and which was really great, and I'm kind of. I couldn't believe that he didn't film that, but
well, I was eating it.
It's not my movie.
One other thing, when they went foraging for bamboo shoots in the bamboo forest, surely that's illegal, right?
No,
Really?
and we had the permission of the owners.
Yeah.
It was,
private.
It was a private
I
forest.
saw the guy glancing around. It was like,
oh yeah, no. It's near his garden, and they just asked the owners. And
Yeah.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
fine, okay.
Yeah. Everybody in the neighborhood is welcome to go and
Just
pick
amazing.
there.
Just amazing.
So.
Yeah.
It's an amazing look at the inside of the real inside of Japan.
It was a fun year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Way in the back there.
Yes. Has the restaurant been open for the entire pandemic?
Oh.
They closed when kind of everybody closed in, I guess it was like March or April of 2020. But once places were able to reopen, he didn't waste any time. He didn't want to stay closed. So even well before the vaccine, he was kind of risking it, just going there. And they were masked and they had some protective stuff. But he was determined. I think maybe he thought like he was afraid that would be it. In a way, I think, Wataru, I think you pointed this out, that maybe it was lucky for us, or maybe for them, or for the place that this film hadn't been finished and come out yet, because I think he wanted to stay open for it to come out, almost for our sake. So maybe he would have just, closed up in the pandemic, which some places did. So we were really happy that he didn't, and he's still going.
Yeah, and then he's waiting for you guys to
Yes.
visit.
No. He's waiting for me to visit.
Oh, yeah.
We will bring you there. Please
No.
let us.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
All right.
Would you say that he's countercultural or sort of deep within a certain culture?
I would say and the guy who eats 500 bowls of ramen a year is sort of our expert,
That guy.
on tour.
That
He's a
guy.
rock musician. He has a TV show.
And he is
too,
very
on TV.
Japanese.
He's a character. He's a bass player in a well-known Japanese rock band, and so when he tours, he just constantly, that's all he eats. But I think he mentioned that that there is a certain kind of kind of a little bit of a rebel ramen master. So he's somewhat emblematic of a certain style of self-taught ramen master, but I guess he's unique in that he never wanted to expand and have chains. He considered it, but he just thought it wasn't. He wanted to just keep it to himself. So he is very casual, though. So that was again what I wanted to show is that there is certainly a place for the very exacting and fastidious chef that you kind of get from a lot of media about Japan. But what I found interesting about him is that he's very serious about it, but it's not precious, and he has no secrets. He was willing to let us do anything, and show anything. So that was really interesting to me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So obviously the documentary focuses more on like the ramen itself and the atmosphere and the dynamic between the chef and the customers in the restaurant. But do you think that when you have like such a great atmosphere with like such great smells and chatter and all these sorts of things, that the restaurant can be like in a way liberating for the customers from like an otherwise like mundane like daily life?
It's not a bad question. Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it's true. What do you think?
No.
I've been talking too much.
No.
No, yeah, I guess I think, yeah, I mean, it is something that people do. Some people, even if they know they have a meal waiting at home, they still stop by and maybe they don't have ramen, they just have a drink and an egg, or something like that. So it is definitely, one guy says, there's more footage than we could use, obviously a lot more. And one guy I remember said, I just go there to sort of switch off, to make that transition from work to home. I like to spend a little time here before I do that because it helps me kind of just forget about work. And I think it definitely plays that role. We're probably running out of time. But
We probably are, but I don't care, really.
All right. I just have to plug one more thing. But
Go ahead, go plug.
Speaking of extra footage, we have so far people have mostly seen it online, so it's not in the credits here, but there's a secret page on our website, comebackanytime.com/festival. And we have like a deleted scene where we went matsutake mushroom hunting and we couldn't use it, but it's fully edited and so.
Just one quick
please
British
visit that.
question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish there? Or yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's the chashu, the classic. Yeah, I mean, I have to ration the number of times that I have the full extra chashu
Never gonna
one.
save it.
It's
I'll tell you, there are many favorite scenes, but one of my favorites was the regular woman eating the yam in front of that is about as Japanese as it's possible to get. And by the way, all these restaurants, these great restaurants, they're not all great, they're not all bad, but they're mostly neighborhood restaurants.
Yeah.
They survive on regulars like this. The great ones like this one are virtually impossible to get into unless you have a connection, right?
This one is pretty open though. I have to say.
Jesus.
I know. It's not. He's got an upstairs, which all my equipment was up there, so we didn't shoot up there much. But you don't get that sense from the movie. But he does have an upstairs. So it's what I like about it is that he's very welcoming and that it's not exclusive. And almost every time we were there was somebody brand new.
No Michelin star. That's
yeah. I mean, I don't think you would want it.
Right.
He certainly doesn't seek it. But
No, I'm done. Yeah, I'm not. I could go on forever, but I think we're done.
more questions.
Any more? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.